have with me today Emily Berning. She's a co-founder of the nonprofit pro-life organization called Let Them Live. They were founded in 2019 and since then have saved the lives of over 700 babies. They support mothers and families all over the country who are contemplating abortions, and they support them into parenthood. Thank you, Emily, for coming and speaking with me today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to share about what we do and answer all your questions and excited to just talk about the mission.
So, can you tell me about Let Them Live? How was it founded?
That's such a great question, and it's such a great story too. I think sometimes the best things are things that happen that we just don't expect to happen. And so, Let Them Live. It all kind of started. I grew up pro-life, but when I was in college, that's when I really found my stride and started learning like what it actually meant to be pro-life. And so, I just kind of became known as Pro-Life Emily. And when I met my husband, after I graduated from college, I he was like he just saw that in me. He was like, "Oh my gosh, you're so pro life. You should start a pro life organization." And at the time, I was doing a job I didn't really like. It was with campaign fundraising, and I just pretty much did not like. It was just not my thing. So Nathan was like, "You should start a pro life organization." And so I did, but at the same time, I didn't know what our mission would be. Like, it was honestly a great idea to start a pro life organization, but I didn't have any direction. Like, I just didn't know what kind of gap we would fill. And so, about a couple of months after Nathan and I got married, which was about a year after we started Let Them Live, there was an encounter that he had where he was actually on Facebook, and there was a girl saying that her cousin had an abortion scheduled, and she just needed help. She needed advice. So Nathan reached out to her and said, "Hey, why does your cousin have an abortion scheduled?" And it turns out that she was evicted. She was living in her car. It was freezing weather. She lost her job. She just didn't have the money to feel confident in choosing life. And so she had scheduled that abortion. And so, long story short, Nathan offered her all the money we had. We were just married, so we didn't have a whole lot. And we got her back into her apartment, and she canceled her abortion, chose life, and sent us an ultrasound. And it was in that moment that we realized, like, oh my gosh, this is what we're supposed to do. And we started researching, and we found that in the United States, a majority of women have abortions because of financial burden. And that really was so sad. And it was sad to me that no organization had existed yet that really tackled that problem, because to us, it feels like a problem we can actually solve, right? It's like a tangible problem that we can solve. So that's exactly what we started doing. We started reaching out to family and friends. We didn't have any more money, so we started raising money. We got connected with more and more women, and as we grew our social media, as we gained partnerships, we started connecting with more women that needed help, and we've almost helped almost 900 women so far. So it's pretty crazy how it all happened.
Wow, that's amazing. The story of how you emptied your bank account to save a life, it's a really profound example of radical faith. They tend to be very selfish and greedy. Money is a big thing that people are greedy about. I'm sure it's been since the beginning of time, but it says a lot that you were able to do that for somebody and you didn't even think twice about it.
Absolutely. Well, and that's exactly when Nathan was like nudged me awake. He's like, "Hey, we're gonna do this." I was like, "Yeah, no problem." Because I think you're right. There's a love of money sometimes in our culture, and money itself isn't bad. Money can be used to literally save lives. It's just about how we use it. And at the end of the day, we have to remember that it's not our money, right? It's God's money. We can't take it with us when we leave here, and we have to use it for His kingdom. So it was kind of a no brainer, and it just made sense because to us, we knew like if we had $0 in our bank account, that we would have support and help. We had Nathan's family. Like, we could go stay with them. They would make sure we had food. But this mom, we just knew that if she didn't get back into her apartment and have those resources, that the life of her child would end. And so in those situations, you just have to weigh it and then make a choice. And sometimes it can be a scary choice and it's not necessarily the most comfortable choice, but I'm so glad that we just jumped into it because Let Them Live started because of that.
Wow. Okay. Well, can we talk a little bit about the connection between the abortion industry and the human trafficking industry? I understand that recently you had a mother that needed help, and she happened to also be a victim of sex trafficking. Can you talk a little bit about that situation?
Definitely. Yeah, something that I've learned running Let Them Live, and it has taught me so many things, but one of them is just how much intersectionality there is with abortion and other issues. Drug use, domestic violence, rape, and sex trafficking. And it's unfortunate because it's like abortion is sometimes seen as like a problem solver for these things. So if women are being trafficked to the people that are trafficking them, abortion is this like quick and easy solution to get them back making money. And it's really unfortunate. And I think it's something that the abortion industry itself needs to be more aware of and be more sensitive to, because I think that, and I don't know individually if people, who work for Planned Parenthood, for example, know that they are feeding into these different industries, into domestic violence, into sex trafficking, those types of things, into, prostitution. But it really is important for us to take a step back and say, okay, how are these problems crossing? And I sometimes didn't even think about the problems that women would face. Sometimes I kind of, when we started Let Them Live, I was thinking about it in like 1D, for example, like literally just abortion, finances and abortion. But then we experience moms that come to us that have different situations, and that's where we learn about other issues that are impacting them and affecting them. So yeah, we had a mom, and we've actually had multiple moms since that have been in or are currently being trafficked. And that's a whole other thing where Let Them Live, we may not be fully equipped to deal with that entire situation. We can probably, deal with or help with a part of that situation, but that's where partnerships and working together and collaboration comes and is just so important, because there are experts and people who've dealt with sex trafficking situations before, and they know how to help women get out of that and escape that. And so it's so important, and I stress this all the time, just the importance of collaboration and partnership, because no one organization knows everything or can do everything. And it's constantly a learning curve for us, because there's always going to be situations that come up that we've never dealt with before, and we have to kind of learn on the job how to deal with it, I guess. This mom that we helped this summer, she actually just had her baby, and we just saw pictures, and it is so amazing. And fortunately, there's so many amazing stories like that. Unfortunately, there's stories of women that don't accept our help, and sometimes we don't even know where they end up because we lose contact with them or whatever. But support of Let Them Live also means supporting other organizations as well, because we utilize sex trafficking, anti-sex trafficking organizations to help our efforts
Okay,
too.
that makes a lot of sense. Something that Rebecca Bender, she was saying that it's very important for everyone who is working against these issues to stay in their lane, stay in the the path that you have carved out for yourself, because you specialize in that area and you can't touch every area. It takes a lot of work to touch every area. So it's
Yep.
really good that you're utilizing
Yep.
other organizations that are specializing in other areas that these mothers need help in.
100%. And it's something too, like, if you stop learning and you think that you know everything, like you're just, I mean, there was like a proverb, and it probably sounds way better than what I could say, but basically you're a fool if you think that you don't have anything to learn and you just know everything. And so my motto is really just to keep learning. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm not going to know everything. And the way we learn is from other people. And I would also not want to jeopardize a mom or her safety or anything by trying to assume that I could take on, or Let Them Live could take on, you know, helping her if we didn't know how to do it. And so that's why it's important to always put aside our own, you know, desire to help or whatever, and make sure that, you know, we're meeting the needs of the moms. That's really what's important. And that's what Let Them Live focuses on, is like, what are the needs of this mom in this moment, and how can we best help and support, even if that means connecting with other organizations.
So, a very popular pro abortion argument is, what if the mother conceived this baby out of rape or, sexual assault? What if, would you condone it at that point? And, obviously you and I were both pro life and we still would say no, but what do you have to say in the case of having worked with sex trafficking victims? What do you see on that front?
Yeah. I've seen so many situations, and I've seen women who have been raped who, you know, go on and have a wonderful pregnancy. I've seen them work through the trauma of the rape, and we've been there side by side with them. I mean, that's something that is disgusting and sad, that will never change. I mean, that's just absolutely horrific. I've seen babies born. I know people who are friends of mine that were conceived in rape, and so it's a really nuanced issue. And you know, it's such an unfortunate thing. And I think sometimes, you know, people like to use the argument of rape to justify abortion kind of as a whole. And it's so flawed. And the thought experiment that I use if someone was posing that question to me is this. I say, okay, let's just say for the sake of argument that I agree with you that abortion should be, you know, allowed in cases of rape. Like, let's just pretend. Then, because that's the argument that you're using to justify abortion. And that happens in less than 1% of cases. So let's just say, for example, just to put aside, I agree with you. Then will you stand with me and be against the 99% of abortions that are happening in every other case? Because if that's really the only thing that's holding you up, let's put that aside for a minute, then will you stand with me and be pro-life in all the other circumstances? So it kind of flips it around, and it gets them to think. And the reality is they say, no, I won't do that. And it's like, okay, so then why won't you support a woman choosing life in the rest of the cases? Because that really actually gets to the meat of the issue. People should not hide behind such a horrific thing as rape for their argument for abortion. And they do it all the time because they usually tend to pick, you know, the most extreme, the most horrible case, the most horrible scenario that you could ever imagine, and use that to try to like trip you up. So I kind of turn it around. And then that kind of like brings up, you know, the actual conversation. Basically, that gets to the crux of the issue. So it's not that, you know, they're against, they're for abortion in cases of rape, they're for abortion in cases of pretty much everything. And so that's the whole point, is to kind of call that out and not allow them to hide behind the argument of rape, which is the most horrific argument, right? They typically tend to choose the most horrible, the worst example of something to try to justify their opinion. And so then, you know, that actually leads to the conversation of what is abortion. And that actually is the whole point of debating with someone on abortion, is to get to the actual point of, if someone is supporting abortion, it's probably because they don't believe that the unborn human is human with rights. So you could have any justification you want, but if you don't believe that the unborn child has rights and is a human being with like philosophical rights and personhood and all that, then, you know, they're going to support abortion anyway. So that's kind of how you get back to that argument. The other thing I like to talk about with the rape too, with that argument, is I say, like, let's say I was holding three babies, and I just asked you to, by looking at the babies, to tell me which one was conceived in rape, which one's, you know, biological dad is a rapist. You couldn't tell just by looking at them, truly. And so that kind of brings into question, it's like, again, the humanity. If they're a human being it doesn't matter who their father is, they still have rights. They're still the same as us, no matter how we are conceived.
Okay. So I'm curious when you're talking to people, and I'm sure the majority are young adults that end up having these radical arguments for abortion. But when you are having a conversation with somebody who has that stance, is there anything in particular that may change someone's mind when you're arguing these points?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the best thing to know when going into a conversation with someone is knowing that you may not change them right away, but you could very well plant seeds. And the biggest thing is just being respectful. Sometimes just being respectful and kind can totally shatter that person's preconceived images of what like a pro-life person is. And that could actually get them to think. So that's always like the first thing. But I always like to share stories. Stories are a really good thing to show just the impact. I think sometimes choice, I think sometimes these buzzwords, women's healthcare, really grab people and they're really confusing. And it's not actually, indicative of what's actually going on with abortion, for example. So I think it's important to show that, like I said, let them live. We are based off of the statistic that a majority of women are having abortions because of financial burden. That's a fact. That's actually came from the Guttmacher Institute, which was the research arm of had previously. And so when you use statistics, when you say this is a real problem, this is how we're trying to fix it, people can actually start to see that maybe we're trying to do some good. So finding common ground is a really important thing. How can I connect with this person that I'm trying to debate where we don't have the exact same views, but what can I connect with them on? We can probably both agree that women shouldn't be forced into abortions. We both probably agree that, a woman's financial circumstances shouldn't automatically mean that she has to have an abortion. We can probably agree that sex education is an important thing, so many things like that. And then that's where you can build rapport with someone and then you can start talking about the things that you disagree about. So I always like to ask as well, when do they think life begins? Because if we're talking biological life, right? Biology, it's proven, it's life begins at conception. There's just nothing they can say against that. Typically, people will agree with you on that, who are pro-abortion. But what they don't agree on is where personhood starts. Where some people say it's sentient, some people say it's if they can feel pain. So asking that specific person where they draw the line can be really helpful in your conversation and to dive into pro-life apologetics. And I always just tell people to read books. Read Persuasive Pro-Life by Trent Horn. That's a great book. Be ready to answer questions about why you're pro-life and defend your position. But at the end of the day, it's the most logical stance. So in any sort of debate or conversation, it's just going to kind of make sense to be pro-life, and it'll kind of all flow for the person who's pro-life. In my opinion.
No, I agree. I really do agree. I've had conversations and I've had many debates about pro life issues. It's something that I'm very passionate about. And it's funny, I debated with this guy I was dating a long time ago. And at the end of the conversation, he goes, "Wow, you really know your stuff." And I'm like, it's like, it's just biology 101, my dude.
Yeah, 100%. And that's important. And you want to be prepared for that, and that's kind of where I was in college, where I was like, I know I'm pro-life, but I don't really know how to defend this. And so that's when I started reading and getting to know the arguments and just the logic behind it, not just it feels right to be pro-life.
What would you say to a family member or a friend of someone who is contemplating an abortion? How would you suggest that they can help that person?
That's such a great question. And I think there's a lot of opportunity when for someone to act in a way that is loving towards a woman who finds herself pregnant and, in an unexpected way and considering abortion. I've seen way too many times and so many situations when a woman is coming to us and her entire family has basically disowned her because she, had sex outside of marriage and she got pregnant. They kicked her out of the house. They are telling her that they're not going to support her or help her in any way. Her friends are saying it's probably just better to have an abortion. And it's heartbreaking because I think that people don't understand just how much abortion also hurts the woman. And that's their sister, that's their aunt, that's their best friend, that's their daughter. And I don't think they understand the full context of what abortion can do to her. So I think the best thing to do if, people have a friend or a family member who finds themselves pregnant is to first congratulate her. Say, you know what, no matter what, this is an amazing thing and it's going to be okay. And just to reassure her and just give her like all the love and all of the support and say, I'm here for you. And then the other thing you can do is just listen to her. She's probably super overwhelmed. There's probably a lot going on, and she just needs to let it off her chest. And then the other thing is to reach out to Let Them Live, reach out to your pregnancy center, anywhere that can give an extra kind of like support for her. And just remind her that you love her and you're there for her, because a lot of times when women or girls are finding out they're pregnant, their world is just shaken up and they need the stability from family and friends. And the stability and support of family and friends can actually make or break the decision for abortion. And I wish more people knew that. So just like I would do it, just approaching it with love and kindness and support. There's really nothing better.
Okay, so love and support is huge in helping a mother to choose life. And, like you said, someone who finds himself in an unexpected pregnancy is probably very scared. They're probably terrified. And just having that love and support can bring them a lot of confidence to be able to choose to keep their baby. I hear a lot
Yep.
about women who regret having gotten an abortion. I actually met someone at the One Life Ball that y'all threw in Florida, and she was telling me that she had an abortion when she was a teenager, and
Yep.
it's a regret that she has in her life.
Yep. It's awful. And to hear the story of women who've had abortions and to hear the pain and the regret and the guilt and all the stuff that just comes with that, you know, that we have a duty to women to show them that it's not worth it. It's not, the circumstances are temporary, but abortion is permanent. And so it's important for them to really think through that and know that they have support. I mean, that's a big thing. A lot of women don't even know that they have support.
Yes. Okay. Well, do you have a message to share, a message of hope to share for anyone who may be contemplating an abortion, who may have found themselves in this situation, just need love, support? Do you have a message for someone like that who may be listening?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, you're so loved. You have support. There's not one single person in this entire world that hasn't faced something just devastating or, scary. That's that's the human in us. We've all experienced some crazy things, and you're not alone. You have people that love you, and if it's hard for you to ask for help, you're also not alone there. We have so many moms who just want to be amazing providers for themselves and their children, and it's hard for them to ask for help. But that's why we're here. Let Them Live is literally here to support you if you feel like abortion is your only option, especially because of finances. And there's going to be a ton of people that can just surround you with love and support you and your baby. And you're never too far. You could be in debt up to your eyeballs. You could be homeless. You could be facing just the worst things in the world and being pregnant at the same time. And I guarantee that you're going to be okay. And we're going to help you get there.
Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Emily. I'm super excited to have had this conversation, and I think that it will be very eye opening for some people who maybe haven't considered these points that we talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm so grateful as well. And if anyone, wants to learn more, get involved, or just reach out, to support or needs help, letthemlive.org is a great way to start. We also are on all the social media platforms.
Speaking of social media, I want to ask you about the One Life app. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, yes, we're so excited. Definitely a work in progress. But Let Them Live is an organization that is like technologically advanced, or at least we're trying to be. I think that the pro life movement, the conservative movements are maybe a little bit behind with technology. So we're utilizing AI, we're utilizing apps, things like that to kind of get ahead of the curve. So we have this app that we're creating, and it's going to be so amazing. Donors, supporters, can log in. They can see the moms that we're helping. They can see where they're at. They can see what their needs are, what bills they need to have paid, pictures of the mom, and support them. So if they see that the mom needs $100 to help her with her rent, they can donate $100 to her. And it's going to be a great way for them to receive updates. They're going to be able to talk to the mom directly. It's just a really great way for donors and supporters to have the same experience that Nathan and I have had with moms, that very personal one on one experience. And it's just going to be an easier way for people to support women in their community or across the world. We have lots of international donors too. So, and this is going to help moms to, gain support from our donors, and they'll be able to, get into the app and talk to the donors and connect with their counselor. And just going to be a much easier way for people to give.
Good. Well, I know that's going to make a big difference in people's lives, really. I've been a part of the Adopt a Mom program since like 2020, so I'm really excited about this app.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. Definitely, costs money to do and everything. So it's little by little every day. But we really are so excited to have an app that connects the pro life community directly with the women that we're helping. And I think that's what pro life people have wanted, because it's one thing to say we're pro life, but a lot of people don't know how to put that into action. And so Let Them Live, the app that we're coming up with, it's going to give people the opportunity to be pro life, and really put their money where their mouth is, their support, where they say their beliefs are.
Good, good. Well, thank you very much, Emily, and thank you for advocating for and protecting our children and supporting these mothers and families. It's a big deal. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we couldn't do it without you. That's for sure. So I always say that Let Them Live is like a car. And it's great to have the car, but if you don't have gas to put in it, you can't go anywhere. So our donors and our supporters are the ones that put the gas in our car. So it's a team effort for sure.